First National Bank of Lake Jackson presents Bank On It with your host, Dave Mayberry.
Welcome, everyone, and thank you for joining us, whether you're listening here in studio or streaming online. Today, we are honored to welcome a respected educator, visionary leader, and passionate advocate for student success, and my friend, the president of Brazosport College, Dr. Vincent Solis. Now, under Dr. Solis's leadership, Brazosport College has continued to expand educational opportunities, strengthen workforce partnerships, and serve as a vital resource for students, employers, and communities throughout the region. Dr. Solis, thank you for joining us today. We're expected to learn more about your journey, your leadership, and your vision, and the future, of course, in higher education. So welcome.
Dave, thank you for having me on the show. I am excited. It's interesting being on this side of the mic. You know, I'm usually sitting where you're at, but when you asked me to come on the pod, I said, absolutely. I said, let's go do it. I'm so grateful to be here.
Give them the address of your Chomp.
So Chomp Talk, if you go to brazosport.edu, all of our podcasts, which is called Chomp Talk, we cover all things either college related or leadership. We focus a lot on leadership and leadership development and understanding the many aspects of leadership. So we bring on some really interesting guests from former Navy SEALs to current athletic directors and anybody in between, business, community leaders, and we just kind of listen to their story and try to glean some words of wisdom from their experience. So
I love it.
That can be it's on our website at brazosport.edu. If you just scroll all the way down to the bottom, you'll see all the amazing leaders that we've had on there. We had one leader in particular who was a former or current presidential Medal of Freedom winner. So we've got everything in between. There's something there for everybody. Yeah.
Well, I listened to it and it's awesome.
It is. Yeah.
I wish this was a video. Our producer Lee Cowan and I said, man, he gets all dressed up in a suit and everything. He looks good, y'all. You'll just take my word
just
for
told him, hey, use the filters that are going to make me younger, thinner, and more hair. But
there you go.
It has it works.
We can do that with your voice. That's it.
Right. Let's do it.
Hey, before we begin, many of our listeners know you as, of course, the president of Brazosport College, but they may not know the person behind the title. You're the youngest of 11 siblings, number one. What was it like growing up in such a large family and having 13 parents?
You know, that's exactly what it was like, particularly with my sisters. So I had 5 older sisters that were more mom to me than sisters. They were amazing, a big part of my journey and who I became in life. And obviously my mom and my dad. And then having all those brothers to help, just learn how to navigate the world was pretty amazing. So I've been really blessed with not just amazing parents, but amazing siblings, and just reaping the benefits of being the youngest. It's not just being exposed to people that have, gotten through the process, but they looked out for you in a different way when you're the youngest, right? So I often tell folks that, I'm a byproduct of being very spoiled by my parents and my siblings because I was the youngest and they always looked out for me. So big beneficiary of them pouring into me. So it was a great experience.
Did that help shape you into who you are today?
Absolutely. My mom and dad were migrant workers. They had 10 kids of their own, and at some point they decided to adopt me. So
you're adopted?
Yeah, I'm adopted. Yeah, so they took me in, and my dad, he was this World War II vet. He got drafted in 41, didn't come back to 45. He was just this monolithic figure in my life, and we never had a conversation about that adoption to any large extent. But there was one time I remember vividly. I was navigating 7th grade, and we were sitting outside. Back then, we didn't have AC or HVAC in the homes. We grew up without that. So we were sitting outside, getting cooled down a bit. And I just asked him, I said, Dad, I said, you had 10 kids of your own. Why take me on? And he just, real matter of fact, it was the right thing to do. And that was my dad. He was just one of these individuals. And then he kind of kidded with me. He says, but if things would have gotten really bad, I'd have sold you. So he was joking with me, of course, but yeah, he was a giant in my life in terms of just giving me, who knows where I would have ended up with, he took me in, gave me a home, and between him, my mom, and all those siblings, it worked out really well.
Well, speaking of your dad or whoever it may be, but was there a particular person or an experience or a defining moment that inspired you to pursue higher education and your lifelong commitment to learning?
Yeah, that's a great question, Dave, and I appreciate it because it when you get these questions, you think about the response, right? And it makes you, it kind of jars memories and reasons for why we do what we do. For me, the other thing about my story is that I'm also a high school dropout. So, having to navigate life as a high school dropout for several years, trying to learn, how you make it with no skills, no education. I learned very quickly that the world can be very difficult. And the world can be hard. People can be hard to one another. I experienced in the time prior to going to school, which I didn't do till I was about 22, that you learn very quickly that if you don't have a skill set or an education, you're going to be subjugated to the whims of the world, right? And that can be a difficult thing because the kinds of jobs that you get access to are very low wage and very hard to do. I remember we would go to places. Dairy Queen was the place that, farm workers would show up and the ranchers would come in and, okay, I need 15 people for this, stretch of land that we're going to work, et cetera. And you're getting paid $2 an hour to do really, really difficult work. And
if you were lucky enough to be chosen.
If you were lucky enough to be chosen. Fortunately for me, there was a couple of us amongst us that spoke Spanish and English. So it made us valuable because now we could translate he wants us to do this or wants us to do that. So we'd get picked up as part of a crew pretty quickly if we could speak English and Spanish. But you also learn through that process that I remember one guy would say, I need 150 people. We're all gathered there. He goes, I got a lot of work for you all. Our conditions are good. You're never going to be exposed to pesticides. You're never going to do this. You're never going to do that. It was all a lie. It was all a facade. Once you get sucked into, well, now we're with this group and they put us into work, you would get sprayed on, you'd get exposed to very difficult working conditions. So I learned through that process, Dave, that if you're going to make it, an education is that tool. But an education, in my experience, is more than a tool to get ahead. It's also a shield to protect you against the injustices of the world. Because had I known then what I know now, I would have had a voice to be able to say, hey, we're not going to do that. And here's why we're not going to do that. Versus when you don't, you just have to sit there and take it. So
and you've been there and experienced.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. So part of my journey and my own internals, the mechanisms that drive me are, it's more than what it's done for me as a person in my career. It's what has it done for my ability to advocate for others?
Well, that kind of brings me to my next question, and you've really almost probably answered it all the way, but let me just ask it. One of Brazosport College's core values is commitment to student success through meaningful pathways from education all the way to employment.
Yeah.
And I've seen that myself helping out with you guys sometime. How does the college bring that commitment to life? And what are some of the ways that you and your faculty help students prepare for successful careers after graduation?
Sure. So I think that you hit the nail on the head with the last part of that question. Things like graduation, completion, students getting good grades, all those things matter, right? Because students are making a progression from point zero all the way to their goal of getting that degree. But if you dig much deeper, student success to us at the college means the student is able to navigate life after they leave our doors. They will be successful in whatever endeavor they opt to participate in. So our goal is not just graduation. Our goal is, does the student have the skills that he or she needs to be successful? Can they communicate? Can they think critically? Can they articulate a goal and work towards that goal? Do they have persistence, right? We're big believers that persistence counts in our journey. So for us, it's more than just what it means and graduation is an amazing day. It's our Super Bowl. You get 600-700 people walking across the stage. It's life-changing. You see all the joy and happiness with the student and their parents, lots of tears of joy, all the things that come with it. And that's a great part of what we do. but it's just it's a tangible symbol of all that work that goes into it day in and day out with our faculty. We have an amazing faculty corps. We have an amazing faculty body, but that's complemented with really, really exceptional staff members that just help students be successful. So for us, we measure success by how well the student is going to do after they leave our doors. Graduation is great, but how did they do after they left BC is what matters the most.
That's greater.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Although the word community isn't part of the college's name anymore, but many students, faculty, staff, visitors describe Brazosport College as feeling like family. We've already talked about part of that. The sense of belonging, it doesn't happen by accident, though. How do you intentionally create and sustain a culture of community on your campus?
You know, I think, Dave, that it starts with we've got some amazing leadership on campus, from our provost to our vice presidents to our deans, our directors.
It's
the
a
people,
who's who.
Yeah, the people that help make it happen. You know, I often tell people that the job of a president is to focus on the service piece, because the president or any leader is never going to have all the answers. That's why you surround yourself with really good people and let them do what they're going to do in terms of being the experts in their field. But we're really blessed with a great faculty body, great staff members, and they all care deeply about our students. If you walk on our campus, we participate in a program called Caring Campus. And Caring Campus is a nationally recognized program where, by design, by intention, by purpose, we very specifically focus on how we interact with people on campus. So, Dave, I'm walking around campus and, talking to students, and it was a heavy advising period, right? Because students are trying to get registered, and we're getting them through as quickly as we can. And one of the students had been there for about 2.5 hours, and I talked to him. I said, we have other advisors, and he goes, no. He goes, I just want to see Mr. Phil, and he was referring to Mr. Phil Robertson, who we all know is a legend, and he's been on campus 45 years serving.
That's unbelievable.
It's unbelievable. In that time, thousands and thousands and thousands of students have come through his words of wisdom, getting them through college and on to classes. But
great man.
He's a great man. And he said, the student said, he goes, I know I'm here without an appointment, but I'll wait all day if I have to, as long as I get to see him. Testament to the type of staff member that we have on campus, testament to the type of faculty that we have on campus. The other example I wanted to give you, Dave, when we talk about why student success is at the core of what we do, there's a young lady on campus that was brought to my office. And I kid you not, Dave, she was all 3 foot tall of her, and she was 12 years old, taking college level courses, walks around campus like she owns the place with a little backpack bouncing around. So our provost, Dr. Backham, found her sitting in one of the study session rooms. And she says, young lady, do you need some help? She goes, no. He goes, I'm just getting ready for my next class. And we're floored at this, and she brings her over because she's 12 and already in college, a very gifted student. And she comes in, this young lady, and she meets with me, and she says, I'm here because I understand you're the president. She's extremely mature and well beyond her years. And she says, I want to get a picture with you and so I can show my mom. And I said, yeah, let's do it. So we take the pictures. And then she says, hey, I'm going to be late to class. Can I get excused for going late to class? I said, unfortunately, I can't give you that. And she's like, but you're the president. I said, yeah. I said, but, you're also a college student, and, how you use your time is really important. And then she tells me, I said, well, who's your instructor? And she tells me, I said, you're going to be just fine. Just tell her that we were hanging out. And, but yeah, we've got every student from that 12-year-old to the single parent that's trying to figure out a way forward. But we have got faculty and staff that provide a great learning environment. And they care about the student. So that's one of the things that I think really separates us from other institutions. There's places where they've got great customer service, but ours goes much deeper than customer service. Ours is about really caring about the students that come through that door so we can do everything that we can to ensure that they're going to be successful while they're with us.
My story mirrors her story, believe it or not. I had a backpack also.
Yeah.
That's it.
That's about it, right?
That's it.
Not at 12.
No.
No, she's a phenomenal student. But
I can't imagine.
Yeah. When I first met her, I said, what a remarkable we're all going to be working for her one day.
I love it.
I love it. Yeah.
Higher education is going on at light speed, evolving rapidly, driven by changing workforce demands, emerging technologies, and advances in artificial intelligence. What opportunities excite you the most, and what challenges should students and educators be preparing for the years ahead?
Yeah, I think that we are in a time of tremendous opportunity. I think that as we enter the age of the AI revolution, I think that we are going to see advances in healthcare, lifespan, ease of job. I think that there are going to be some skills that are going to still be important for people to really master, those soft skills like communication, critical thinking, collaboration, teamwork, all the things that people do really well. But I think that as we navigate what is happening with technology, as we navigate what is happening with, it's not just the type of change, it's how fast the change is taking place. We used to plan strategically when I first started. Let's do a 10-year strategic plan. And then it went to 8 years, and then to 5, now to 3. And even with a 3-year strategic plan, there are so many changes that happen in 12 to 24 to 36 months that you're having to adjust these plans on the fly. So we're in the midst of tremendous change. So I think the challenges for leaders are managing that change, staying informed of what the changes are, being responsive to that environment, Dave, because I think that what's important is you don't have to have all the answers as a CEO and as a leader, but you have to bring clarity to what can be potential chaos in terms of what is happening in the space that is that is changing so rapidly. Everything from legislative initiatives all the way down to, like I said, technology. And one of the questions I get asked a lot is, well, are we all going to be replaced by machines? And my answer to that is no. I said, because there's still things that people do and only people can do. I said, but you will be replaced by someone that knows how to use these technologies. So I think that this is where the idea of continuous life learning, and I think this is different, Dave. When you and I went to college, when you and I went to school, when you and I were in K-12, there was no expectations that in order for us to be successful in life, we were going to have to be lifelong learners. We understood the value of lifelong learning, but there wasn't a requirement. For today's high school graduate, if you're graduating in 2026, you have to relearn, unlearn, and relearn again everything that you just mastered over the last 3 years, and you have to reboot it every 36 months or so. That's how much change is happening in the environment. So for us, we went into a field and we stayed in that field. And, there's a couple of modifications of what we were doing, but by and large, we've been I've been in education 35 years. That is going to be a unique experience for today's high school graduate. They are going to have to constantly be relearning and reskilling in order to stay competitive in this environment. The challenge with that is that most people don't like that kind of change, right? Human beings, by and large, don't like change, at least not change that is happening that often and that dramatic. So I think that for us at the college, our guiding compass is going to be, how do we give students the skills to navigate that kind of an environment that's constantly changing. So lifelong learning has taken on a very different meaning for today's student.
We're visiting today with Dr. Vincent Solis, president of Brazosport College, discussing leadership, innovation, and the future of education. We'll continue our conversation in just a moment after these messages from our sponsors. Located on 156 acres of beautifully landscaped grounds in Lake Jackson, Texas, Brazosport College has served as the college of choice for students in southern Brazoria County and beyond since 1968. Brazosport College offers 4-year degree programs as well as 2-year programs in major fields of study, which transfer to the 4-year schools. With its growth has become a variety of accolades. In 2013 and 2015, the Aspen Institute ranked BC among the top 10 community colleges in the nation. Other awards include Safest College Campus in Texas, as well as Top 10 Beautiful Yet Affordable College Campus in the nation. You bring your commitment to want to learn and allow Brazosport College to assist you in attaining your goals. Learn more about how Brazosport College has been recognized for its commitment to student success by visiting the campus soon. Brazosport College, elevating lives through education and learning that inspires, empowers, and connects. Our podcast today is sponsored by First National Bank of Lake Jackson, featuring financial services with the integrity that you deserve. Let's talk. Call or come by and let's discuss your goals and plans for the future. First National Bank of Lake Jackson, putting you first for over 63 years. Member FDIC. We are back with Dr. Vincent Solis, president of Brazosport College. Now, you've led through periods of both opportunity and also change. How would you describe your leadership philosophy and what principles guide you and your decisions as president of Brazosport College?
Great question. I think for me, Dave, service is at the core of everything that I do as a leader. And leadership and the journey of leadership is different for everybody. But for me, service, and it's not just about, being active in the community. It's really about service to our students, service to our community, service to business industry partners that help shape this amazing community that we all live in. We are so blessed to be a part of this local area. We've got great schools, a fabulous and amazing group of people that make up this community. So we're really blessed. So for me, it's about serving all the individuals that we can through what we do at the college. In terms of how we make decisions, Dave, I think for me, you have to be driven by compassion, but you also have to be driven by the things that are most important and pressing for the institution. The responsibility that I have been placed with by an amazing board of regents. I want to give them a big shout out because they have been phenomenal supporters of our initiatives. They give of their time, of their effort, of their wisdom, so to help lead the college. But the responsibility is also placed in us by the taxpayer, by the people that we serve. So for me, having to make decisions comes from a lens of what is best for the institution. What are the responsibilities I have been entrusted with by the people of this community? But also knowing that at the end of the day, Dave, our tenures as leaders are limited, right? One day, just like everybody else, my tenure will come to an end. And what drives my work is, am I going to leave it for the next leader better than I found it? And that was a hard thing to do because my predecessor did an amazing job handing her work over to me. So it's my responsibility to continue that legacy over to the next person. So, and hopefully that person will do that moving forward. So it's just about understanding that you want to lead with compassion, at your focus of everything is service, but also knowing that your job as the president that you've been entrusted by with that board and by the community is to make the right decisions first and foremost for the institution.
There's a lot of excitement and buzz in the air surrounding Brazosport College today, including new opportunities for students and the return of collegiate athletics. When you look 5 to 10 years into the future, what do you see for Brazosport College and what excites you the most about what's ahead?
Yeah, great question, Dave. So before I get to the athletics piece, because that you are absolutely right. What a buzz has been created about that. But, it's really interesting, Dave. People everywhere are such passionate individuals about sports. We launched, for example, free college. We've got this great free college program where we pay for tuition fees, books, and all the student has, and nothing in life is really free, right? You got to put in some effort. So for these students in this program called Momentum, they get access to tuition fees, books. It's all covered. They got to be a full-time student, maintain a minimum GPA of 2.5. So they got to be good academic students. We launched that. And yeah, there was a couple of accolades. People kind of, hey, congratulations for launching that. We did the same with nursing, the same with the police academy, where our goal was, let's remove all barriers. There are students who want to become nurses. There are students who want to become police officers. There are students who want to go to college, but they don't have the financial resources to do it. So what we did, thanks to business industry, to our taxpayers, we just removed all the obstacles, and the board was really supportive of these initiatives. So once we went down that road, like I said, we got some accolades and people were happy and, to give you that pat on the back. But then as we launched into the final phase of how we bring students on campus, because our demographics have shifted. 75% of our students, Dave, are no longer on campus. They're either at the high schools through our dual program or they're taking all online classes. So all of these strategies are designed to bring the presential on-campus student back to campus. And when we launched athletics, I kid you not, the board approved it at a board meeting at 6 p.m. We went through the presentation. Everybody was pumped up, lots of clapping. So I figured my evening was over. Well, the minute that got approved that evening, it just started blowing up on social media. We started getting phone calls, emails, text messages. The following days, which would have been on a Tuesday, the HR person, Dr. Brad Magano, who's our senior VP for administration, myself, and our board chair, we were busy responding to all manner of phone calls, emails, text messages, putting out letters. We were there till about 11:30 at night. That's how much momentum came in on the athletics. So I knew we were onto something at that point. I said, hey, we're here late, but you know what? This is for a really good reason, because people are really, really interested in bringing athletics back. And kudos to the board for supporting the vision, but we're excited. We're really, really excited.
Tell our listeners how many people applied for the jobs.
Yeah, so we have several jobs. So let me go through the jobs real quick. We had our executive athletic director, our associate athletic director, our academic coach who keeps all of the students in compliance. We had our baseball coach and our softball coach. So these 5 positions, we had over 300 applications. Baseball had 119. We just named our new baseball coach, Clayton Stewart, out of Angleton. We're extremely pleased. I understand, I don't follow the social media too much, but everybody's been telling me that the comments have been going through the roof. People are really excited. The same with our academic coach, Ms. Tiffany Robertson. Same with Coach Nick, who's coming in to be our AD. There's just been so much buzz around athletics. It's been overwhelming in a really great way.
I love to hear it. If you could go back, Doc, to the very first day of your career and offer advice to yourself, what would it be?
I would say never stop learning. And even though it's been a mantra of mine, because I'm a big person who believes in reading, podcasting, learning. You have to constantly be curious. I tell our team members on campus that you have to be a student of the game. I would have doubled down and tripled down on that. I think that you can never stop learning. And if I had just taken that up 2 or 3 notches, I think it would have done wonders for my journey. I've done really well because I've stuck to that. I'm a big believer in constantly being curious about your profession, the world that you live in, your responsibilities as a leader. So you're constantly seeking wisdom in these areas because I said you're never going to have all the answers, but you're responsible with providing clarity. So I would just double and triple down on that. I would have intensified my learning and done that at an earlier stage in my career. So I think that's one thing that if anybody's out there listening is never, ever stop learning. Just double down on your efforts to do that. It's a big part of your growth. Seek out mentors, seek out coaches. There are people that have done this before you. Take the time to invest in those relationships. I've been blessed with some of the most amazing mentors, teachers, shepherds, and guides that have kept me on the right path. And I think that the more you can never have enough of those. You can never have enough of those relationships. So I think I just would have really doubled down and, like I said, even tripled down on continuous, constant learning.
And those mentors are excited when you come back to them. But guess what?
Absolutely.
They're more excited to see what changes you make and what's going on.
Yeah. And I take that role also as a mentor very seriously because I still have students that reach out. I do free executive coaching for people that are doing, job searches. I coach them up on interviews, on resumes and things, because you want to give back, right? So I often tell people, look, you don't have to reinvent the wheel. You just have to take time to find people that have been successful in their roles. Learn the things that are applicable to your journey. Take the best from that person. Take the best from the other person. Take the best from everybody. There's always really good people to surround yourselves with, and they're always willing to pour themselves into you because they want you to be successful. But I think one of the things that we need to do better as leaders is no matter what stage of the career you're in, even I've been doing this for 35 years. I'm heading into the latter chapters in my career, but I still seek out new mentors. I still seek out, wise leaders. I still do executive coaching. And the minute I hear something that I really like, I make it a point to, Dave, I really like what you said. Let me ask you, one of the things I do, Dave, from my own personal journey is I collect leadership stories. I've had the opportunity to sit down with people that I won't name the person, but I had an opportunity once by sheer just random luck. I was at the right place, right time to have dinner with one of the wealthiest men in the United States. And I was just sitting there listening to him, and it was just 4 people in the room. I just landed there by sheer dumb luck, right? But, all these people are asking him questions. And when it came to me and he says, and you, tell me about your journey. And, we were talking, and I said, my question has to do with, it's not about how you got to where you're at. I said, I think your story is very well known. I said, but what are the most valuable leadership lessons that you learned coming up? And he said, well, I started doing this, I started doing that. And I learned that through my experience, not to be afraid to take that shot. So he started at 15 and took over this business, and he worked at the business, and the guy was going to sell it. And he goes, I'd like to buy the business from you, but I have no money. So this gentleman sold him this business at 15 years old. And it was a fascinating story of just sheer determination. I said, well, how did you take over this business at 15? He goes, I knew I wasn't going to fail. I said, failure was not an option. So I gave him a very brief business plan on what I was going to do if he trusted me with it. And the guy said, yeah. I said, what was your response when he said, yeah, I'll sell you this business at 15, And this was years ago when you could do things like that on a handshake. And he said, my response was, I just knew I wasn't going to let myself and my family down. And then the rest is history. And then he became this extremely wealthy individual who, mastered the tradecraft of being a business leader. So for me, collecting leadership stories and things that I put in my journal, I call it my leadership recipe book. You just write things down, and that was an amazing part of it. And not all of it's going to be applicable to your own style, but if nothing else, it gives you tremendous motivation, and knowing that someone else did it also allows you to kind of encapsulate the idea that if they did it, I can do it.
I love that.
Yeah.
One of my favorite parts of the scholarship soiree that I help out with sometimes is listening to people that have graduated that come back and talk about that.
Yeah.
And what they got and how they couldn't have done it.
That's right.
And as I know, a lot of them, that's the first person in their family that's graduated.
Or that has gone to college and tried it.
At all.
At all. Just, and so much is riding on them, Dave. I think when we hear the story of that first generation student, we call it the iceberg effect. You see them at graduation, but you don't know all the struggles that are going on behind the scenes where they're having to take care of mom and dad and the family. And everybody is counting on that one person to make it, that first person to go to college, so that it's easier for the other members of the family once they go through the process. The pressure that is on a first generation student, and to your point, Dave, those scholarships that are raised through the benevolence of the members in our community, there are students who will stop out of the educational experience because they have a $100 bill for a tire that they don't have for their car. They may need some additional books. They may need to pay the light at home. Whatever their circumstances are, what may be a nominal amount for someone is life-changing for someone else. So that's why when we go to the community, and our community is so generous with their scholarships and their donations to the college, those opportunities are literally, without hyperbole, life-changing for the students that receive those scholarships. Because we know that if a student can get through the educational experience at BC, then it's not just about their lives. The lives of their families are transformed. They can't go back, because education is one of these things that once you get it, it's yours forever. No one can ever take it away from you. So I think that for those students and for the listeners, those scholarships, it's a $50 scholarship, a $100 scholarship. In some instances, in many instances, that can make the difference between the student continuing their journey or stopping out.
That's unbelievable. Isn't it like when you look out over that audience that happened, it's like who's who. These are people that are movers and shakers, but it touches their heart.
It does.
And their heart goes out, and they're able to give. And they give like crazy.
And they're so generous.
I
tell you, we raise so much money at those events, and it all goes to such a worthy endeavor. Education does so much than teach you something. I think it gives people the ability to distinguish between knowing and understanding. We know that we need to get an education, but many times we don't understand how to do that. That's where BC comes in, and that's where our staff and our faculty make all the difference for those individuals that show up at our doors looking for a better life through education.
Now, I know the answer to this question, but let's talk just a minute about hobbies and things you like to do to relax and recharge those batteries.
Yeah.
Because you're like the Energizer Bunny.
I try
You're
to
going
be
all the time.
all the time.
And you're excited all the
I
time.
love it.
That excites everybody around you.
I love it. I am so blessed to do, I have to tell people, don't look for something that you love to do. Look for something that you're good at, that gives you purpose, that your why is going to resonate with you daily. Well, I got fortunate to hit all of those. I love my job. I enjoy the people that I work with. I couldn't ask for a better group of supervisors and board members that are my bosses. The community's amazing. If you love what you do, you don't work, Dave. That is the truest form of wisdom that you can share. Do something that you're passionate. I love my job, Dave. I show up and it's not even work. I can't believe the board and the community pays me to do what I do. I love it. And, watching someone change their life through our efforts, through the efforts of our faculty, through the efforts of our staff. Graduation, that Super Bowl day that we have, it's worth every amount of time, minute, second that we spend doing this effort. But I think, to your question, one of the things that I find is important for anybody who's busy or who's just working or leading, you need to have something that quiets the mind. And we live in an age where many of us work as knowledge workers. We work with computers or with technology or with many things. And when you're in that space, the brain goes all the time, even when you're not working. So I'm a big believer that everyone should have something that they're passionate about that isn't work. Call it a hobby, call it something that you're interested in, so that you can quiet the mind. For me, I love to fish. Although I do consider myself a pretty good fisherman, Dave, I enjoy it, but
he doesn't keep the fish, lazy.
No, I put everything back.
He never does.
Put it back. But
I wanted to have a big old fish fry over there. When are we going to have a fish fry? He goes, well, you'll have to bring the fish. I go,
That's
what?
right. Yeah. But we're also blessed that we are in one of the best fisheries anywhere. So it's easy to be a good fisherman here. But even if I don't catch anything, I enjoy sitting out there, the quiet, the peace. I love sunflower seeds and an ice cold Coke. That for me is heaven right there. I also enjoy doing leather work. And if I can get to do those, once or twice a week, it helps me just kind of quiet the brain. I listen to some great podcasts like the Dave Mayberry show. And it's just one of those things that you got to have something that quiets the mind. You have to settle yourself. I think you have to be very deliberate about how you think. We don't do that. We never teach ourselves how to think. Nobody ever teaches us, hey, this is the way to think. And I think that when you have those moments of reflection, you have the ability to think neutrally about things without putting the emotion, because you've got the time to sit there, decompress, and allow yourself a good thought process about the decisions you're about to make that are going to impact the people that you serve.
Doc, we've talked about family, education, leadership, community, innovation, and the future. But before we conclude, and we're running out of time, I'd like to give you the final word. What message, lesson, or thought would you like to leave with our listeners today?
Thank you for the opportunity to be here, Dave. I think that this closing question is really important and near and dear for me. And it goes back to the circle of education changes lives. Our mission to elevate the lives of the people that we serve by our work, we believe that day in and day out. We live it. And the reason that's important to me is because I have seen and experienced firsthand what an education can do. Yesterday, I was a migrant worker. I was a high school dropout. Today, I'm a college president. And the only reason I'm able to do that is because I have the keys that open the doors to those opportunities. And the keys to those opportunities were my education. If I had not had that, I'd be doing something honorable, but it wouldn't be doing this. And this journey as a college president, having spent 35 years in higher education, has been my life's work, because having the ability to help others reach their dreams, I can't tell you, it's the best job in the world, Dave. So for me, the closing thought would be an education changes everything.
We're so happy that you shared your insights, experiences, and vision with us. It's been a pleasure. I've had a great time talking to you. We're friends already, but even more friends now, where it's deeper understanding of each other. Would you join us again sometime?
Absolutely, Dave. Anytime. I love your setup, and it's always great coming out to the bank because the service is also amazing. So you all do it right. And this podcast, your ability to get different perspectives out into the community is appreciated. Thank you for doing this.
We enjoy it. For Brazosport College President Dr. Vincent Solis, our producer Lee Cowan with Marketing and Creative LLC, and First National Bank of Lake Jackson, thank you for spending your day with us, and we hope today's conversation has given you a deeper appreciation for the power of education and the importance of leadership and the value of building strong communities. To learn more about Brazosport College, its academic programs, workforce training opportunities, community events, and student resources, visit brazosport.edu. And if you found value in today's discussion, please share this broadcast with a friend and a student or a parent or a colleague or anyone else considering continuing their education. One conversation can inspire a new opportunity, a new career, or even a new future. Stay curious, keep learning, and continue supporting the people and institutions that help our communities thrive. I'm Dave Mayberry saying thanks for joining us, and we look forward to our next podcast. You can bank on it. This podcast is for entertainment and informational purposes only and does not constitute legal or financial advice. Please consult with a professional for specific advice tailored to your situation. The views, thoughts, and opinions expressed in this podcast are solely those of the host and any guest and do not necessarily reflect the official policy or position of First National Bank of Lake Jackson. This episode discusses topics that are subject to change. Always review your current sources.